So today is a very exciting day here at the winery. We are bottling 2,000 cases, or 24,000 bottles. It's a little bit of a heartbreak moment for the winemaker because I'm used to spending every day with these wines and, tasting and blending and tasting and every day being with them and monitoring and trying to make the best product possible. But now, it's like they're graduating, so they're finished the process and now they get to leave the nest.
Call it a heartbreak moment or simply bottling day. Either way, it's a special day here at the Port of Leonardtown Winery. 17 area farmers, known collectively as the Southern Maryland Wine Growers Cooperative, grow 25 grape varieties. The winery is where it all comes together. But the work begins in the field.
27-4.
Harvest season, with its sun-ripened fruit and festive atmosphere, tends to get most of the glory. But it's actually winter in the vineyard that co-op member Gerald Byrne prefers.
It's cold, it's quiet, and it's just very thoughtful work as we prepare for the new season.
Gerald manages the vineyard at his family's long-looked-for come-at-last farm.
The fruit that we produce here in Southern Maryland and the wine that we make from it expresses the particular soils, the climate, and the work that goes into the vines. And it's all reflected in that bottle of wine, hopefully. That's the idea.
Here in Mechanicsville, preparations start in January.
Essentially, we would just want to focus on cutting away the old wood from last year and setting the vine up for the new growing season.
Removing dead wood cuts down on disease. At the same time, Gerald chooses the cordon, the part of the vine that will support the upcoming year's fruit.
This one's a little bit short. It's a little bit thin, so we probably won't use this one. This one looks a little stronger, so we'll probably retain that one.
Pruning takes a lot of forethought.
2 cordons coming out of one trunk.
In fact, when he chooses the new cordon, Gerald is not only thinking of the upcoming growing season, he's thinking of the one after that as well.
And I'll leave a little spur here with a bud on it, and this growing season we'll get another candidate shoot that'll grow out, and that will be the cane next winter that we'll lay down the following year.
Thinking ahead is a necessity when you're trying to preserve a family farm like this one that's been in the Byrne family for 3 generations.
My concern was that with the type of commercial pressures and real estate pressures of this area, that if we didn't stay actively engaged, this farm would not last long.
So in 2004, the St. Mary's County Farm, a place that was home to tobacco for 300 years, became a vineyard.
Tobacco does very well in poor soils, poor, sandy, well-drained soils, which is the same type of soil that grapevines do very well in.
For the past 12 years, Gerald and his siblings, parents, and cousins have been trying to grow the best grapes they possibly can.
So it's really critical that we get the pruning done and that we do it well, because if we don't set the vines up properly for the growing season, then it creates a lot more work for us.
Fast forward a few months, and you'll see what he's talking about.
The vines are growing very rapidly. They're competing for sunlight, so we want to just straighten those out so that they're not in competition with each other.
Thoughtful prunings made this job a little easier, but it's still a lot of work.
90% of winemaking is done in the vineyard. So if it's not in the grapes when it reaches the winery, it's not going to be in the wine when it gets in the bottle. To get to that, one of the tasks that we're doing right now is to shoot position these vines so that each cluster, when the fruit forms on the shoots, each cluster has its own space and has its own sunlight and its own airflow to develop and fully ripen and mature evenly.
Too much rain this time of year can reduce pollination, impacting even the most perfectly pruned and positioned vines. This year, so far so good.
This cluster right here, on the end here, these are actually little grapes. they've actually set. So all those little balls on this little inflorescence, those are going to continue to grow during the growing season, and those will turn into our grapes.
Spring is also time to plant new vines. The European grape varieties growing here have to be grafted to American rootstock. Otherwise, disease unique to American soil would kill them.
So what you can see is the initial grafted vine. They'll make a V cut in the rootstock, and they'll put the sign wood in it, and then they'll bind it together with some nursery tape, and then they'll wax it. And the wax helps hold in moisture and protect that wound for it to heal.
When the September harvest rolls around, Gerald skips the new vines for now. It'll be a few years before they produce grapes worth making into wine. But the mature vines...
They look great. They look really good this year. And they do have seeds, so we'll taste them.
Tasting is the easiest way to know the grapes are ready to harvest. The sweeter, the better.
As we're further away, if we're several weeks out, we can really begin with doing a quantitative analysis, which is just taking the grapes and testing the chemistry of them. But as we get closer to harvest, we really want to be in here tasting the grapes, looking at them, squishing them to see how the tannins and the seeds are coming along.
Tannins are a bitter substance found in grapes that become more palatable as the fruit ripens. At the same time, the seeds will go from green to dark brown. The window to harvest each variety is only a few days long, so when the grapes are ready to go, the growers have to be ready too.
And if we wait too long, then all of those things, they get a little bit too far. The fruit can get a little too developed, and it starts to go downhill.
When the grapes arrive at the winery, they're destemmed, crushed, and fermented.
It tastes good.
Winemaker Lauren Zimmerman is pleased.
The summer was excellent with the nice sunny days, and warm weather and low rain levels really helped to produce really concentrated grapes, which will, in the end, produce premium concentrated wines.
And the growers, like Gerald, are there every step of the way.
I don't think anybody can say with a lot of certainty long-term what is the perfect grape for this area, what will make the best possible wine. So it's really, at this point, it's very much an adventure to find out what's going to do best.